The mistake is that it seems like the people who don't follow that model are basically using AI to try to say, oh yeah, whatever, like press releases aren't that hard. Shove it in ChatGPT, let's spit it out and let's be done with it. And I mean, to a certain extent, yes, that's correct. You can make a press release in ChatGPT, but the second that you send it out, somebody realizes that some bot created that. Yeah. It's not that great. You didn't, and the key thing is you didn't have that relationship with the reporter to then get it to land somewhere. So yes, you got an extra SEO hit, which, not a bad thing, fine. But did it land in any of these publications? Did anybody really notice it other than your own social media? Probably not.
Hey there, it's Mike Langford. Welcome to another episode of the Modern Financial Advisor podcast. On this episode of the show, Allie Zendrian, founder of AtoZ Communications, is with me for a live and in-person conversation recorded at the Fearless Investing Summit in Denver, Colorado. Allie is truly one of my favorite people in this space, and she has quickly become one of the most plugged-in pros in the wealth management and fintech ecosystem. Before she launched AtoZ a couple of years ago, she spent years as a financial reporter at Institutional Investor, Forbes, and TheStreet, cultivating the relationships firms need to get access to highly valued audiences that move the needle. Trust me, you are in for a treat with this episode. Now, before we get to the conversation with Allie, please do make sure you take a moment to subscribe to the Modern Financial Advisor podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, the YouTubes, or wherever you like to podcast jam on. And if you have a question or a suggestion or for a topic or a guest, hit me up. I'm basically at Mike Langford everywhere on the internet, or you can shoot us an email, podcast@finsermarketing.com. Okay, let's jump into the conversation with Allie Zendrian. Well, Allie Zendrian, so wonderful to see you. Welcome to, finally, the Modern Financial Advisor podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I feel very fortunate.
Well, I feel very fortunate because, first of all, we've been friends now. Might be 2 years. I don't know how long it's been. I don't even remember how we connected, but we did.
I think I might have sold you a podcast guest. And
Maybe.
then all of a sudden we became friends.
I love it. And then you have these people that come into your life. You get to know them. You enjoy hanging out with them.
Yep.
But you haven't met them in person yet. And we're at the Nitrogen Fearless Investing Summit. And here we are together, hanging out. This is awesome.
Yeah, I know. And we're best buddies.
We are best buddies. Exactly. It's funny. I don't know. This has happened to me many, many times over the years. Like, you've only known a person online, and then you go to the, South by Southwest, which is in my hometown of Austin, or you're at some other conference, you get to see them. But this is awesome. Lifelong friend. So I'm so thrilled we're finally recording a podcast together.
Thank you.
Number one, because the friendship thing, but also you're really important to this space. You're really important to what we're doing here. Like, not only are you helping organize, little old you. Oh, let's dive into little old you. All right. So you've got a really interesting career. You spent years as a financial reporter, working for Institutional Investor, Forbes, TheStreet, covering the industry from the outside. But now you're running PR for a variety of businesses that service the industry, which is really exciting. Yeah. And that's, like you said, you've sent me podcast guests and so forth, but it's also neat. So first question we should tackle is, what do you see differently about the industry now that you're kind of in it versus covering it from the outside? Because it's one thing to be just writing stories about stuff, but another thing they're man, you're like a busybody. You're there's so many people here that you know.
I got my steps in.
You got your steps in. So tell me about it. So you're on the inside. You're working with so many clients. So what are you seeing differently?
So I think it's interesting. So having been a reporter and seeing it from the outside, to me at that point, and granted, unfortunately, that was a long time ago. So circa 2011-ish, I think I left reporting and made the switch to the other side of the table, which was difficult to make. I felt like I was always going to be a reporter. I went to grad school to do this. But so making that switch and having that, I'm going to be on the other side of the table. Reporters call it the dark side because you're on the sales side.
Yeah.
And I felt like, ew, that's icky. And I don't really want to do that. So looking at the industry then, I felt like it was so sales focused And then that had an ick factor to it.
Yeah.
That I was like, ooh, if we're like, I don't want to be that grimy person who's selling somebody into a product that they don't belong in or things like that. So that was actually the reason that I went into healthcare PR first, because I felt like that would be the light, dark side. It would be like the gray, not the black. But then experiencing financial services now, I feel like it's so much more about the relationships and about helping people, that had I realized that then, I feel like I might have gone straight into finance.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if that's the evolution that happened and I so happened to catch it at the right time. But I'm glad that I've experienced that, because there is no ick factor.
There's no ick factor. It is interesting. I'm glad you point that out, because I've talked about that before, and I can't remember who the guest was, but he was a former president, I think it's Jeff Brown, might be. Talking about financial advisors and saying it's like the fifth great profession. You know, doctors, clergy, lawyers, but financial advisor. Right? It's so important. You think about all the things that people are trying to accomplish in their lives.
Yes.
Having a trusted advisor that they can talk to walk through and kind of like weigh their options is so important. And so helping the companies that help those people is awesome.
Yeah. Well, and you don't realize how much of it is powered by the money. So, if I want to accomplish this thing, if I want to change the world, however I want to do it, I can't do it with $0.
Right.
I have no concept of how that happens.
Yeah.
So I need to be able to accrue those funds and be able to deploy them the right way. So I wish that I had realized that sooner, but I'm glad that that's where the industry is, that it's the helping profession.
Yeah. So let's dive into how you've moved so quickly into becoming one of the more influential. I know I'm talking about. So by the way, for those of you listening or watching, Allie doesn't take compliments well. So
I don't. I'm sorry.
Just letting you know.
I'm little old me. I'm the dumb schmucky me.
Well, from my perspective, it's really interesting when you watch a person who you didn't. I've been in this space now for a long time, right? Like, so here's this person I've never heard of before, and that's not uncommon. Like, there's hundreds of thousands of people who work in and around the industry. Also, like, okay, I've never heard of this person. And the next thing I know, it seems like you're working with everybody, right? You're very connected and so forth. So I think that's really neat.
Thank you. Agree. And facts.
That's exactly. Correct. So how did you, this might be like, you don't never want to give away your secret sauce, but how did you build your network so quickly after launching AtoZ Communications? Because, again, like I said, a couple of years ago, I'd never heard of you. Next thing you know, like you helped me book, Bob Veras, Allison Susko of Asset Map, Cal Parker from Biz Equity was here yesterday. Aaron Klein, who's founder of Riskalyze Nitrogen and now and Contio. So like you're like in it. So how have you done this so quickly? What do you think is your key to success there?
Well, so thank you for all those kind words. And I agreed. I don't take compliments well. I am very humble, and I think I got that way because, so back when I was at Forbes, that was when the Travie McCoy billionaire, I want to be a billionaire, I want to be on Forbes magazine. I was like, well, I'm at Forbes magazine. I am the ish. Yeah. And then just sort of realized, you're 25. Like, this is not the end for you. You got to realize that, your poop smells like everybody else. So sort of knocked myself down a few pegs. But getting back to the networking, I feel like it also sort of started at Forbes. So I was at the same section that worked with Steve Forbes directly. Okay. So I would see him every now and then. And initially, people would say, don't talk to him. Like he's in his zone. Like, you're kind of a peon. Like, just don't do that. And at first I obeyed that. And then at some point it's like, but I see him like once a week, once every 2 weeks. I'm never going to speak to the man. Yeah. So I think recognizing the humanity in him. So he's a father of, I believe correctly, 5 daughters. Yeah. So how do you not say like, Happy Father's Day? I hope that you're having a great day. Those things like that. So breaking that wall, and then we wound up actually having a decent relationship, which I so love. But recognizing the humanity in people and just saying, hey, how are you doing? I asked you yesterday about your kids. Yeah. And I genuinely want to know. So just breaking down those barriers with people and realizing that we're all humans. Yeah. But I've also been accruing that network, dating myself. I've been out of grad school since 2007. Okay. So, steadily just meeting people where they are,
Yeah.
I think has been my secret. But I also enjoy connecting people,
Yeah.
finding that like A plus B equals C. So like,
Yeah.
Mike, why don't you go meet so-and-so over there? Like they might generate better business for you. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
I love it. It's been really fun to watch. You know what I mean? Like you get like you said, you meet a person, never heard of this person. Next thing you know, like, is she like in every thing, every conversation? All of a sudden, like this is awesome. So I like to say I knew you at the beginning. So
You totally did. Yes. We were fast Disney friends at the beginning.
that's also true. By the way, so Allie and I are
Rabid Disney fans.
Disney fans, Disney family experiences, types of stuff. So yeah, man, this is great. And hopefully my son who worked at the Disney college program, you and I have talked about that. Hopefully he gets his invite to go back for the summer because otherwise he's got to get a job.
Well, but
Jackson's
hopefully
catching
somewhere in
strays on the podcast. He doesn't even know.
Oh, I know.
No,
Right?
no more summers without jobs for you, buddy.
Yeah, right.
All right, so let's shift gears into kind of what you're doing and where your vision is. So you recently told Investment News that advisors doing their own PR is a penny wise, pound foolish concept, and I tend to agree.
Thank you.
Well, because you'd say the same thing as an advisor would say to a client or a prospect who says, "I'm going to DIY my financial plan."
Yeah.
They'd say, "Okay, like, oh, be careful. Like,
Yes.
you're not a skilled financial advisor. You're not a skilled financial planner."
Yeah.
So, from your perspective, what's the kind of the biggest mistakes you're seeing advisors and fintech companies making when it comes to their communication strategy? What have they been doing? I guess what should they be doing differently?
Yeah. So I think among the reasons that I said that is it feels like anybody who's DIYing, unless you have those relationships that you've built with reporters, and some people do, and some people are fabulous. To be honest, you had one of them on your podcast yesterday. So Dominic DeAndrea is honestly the example of just grinding and making relationships and not being afraid to ask people for things. And more often than not, they say yes. But not all of us can be Dominic. So I think the mistake is that it seems like the people who don't follow that model are basically using AI to try to say, oh yeah, whatever, like press releases aren't that hard. Shove it in Chat GPT, let's spit it out and let's be done with it. And I mean, to a certain extent, yes, that's correct. You can make a press release in Chat GPT, but the second that you send it out, somebody realizes that some bot created that. It's not that great. You didn't, and the key thing is you didn't have that relationship with the reporter to then get it to land somewhere. So yes, you got an extra SEO hit, which, not a bad thing, fine. But did it land in any of these publications? Did anybody really notice it other than your own social media?
Right.
Probably not. So, but I think, and I don't blame advisors for wanting to do this for themselves because I've run up against and was even sort of part of it before I started AtoZ. A lot of PR agencies will have retainers that are in the thousands, tens of thousands. So yes, if you're a small advisor with a small shop, are you doing that or should you be doing that? No, absolutely not. So I think PR practitioners, we need to meet people where they are and have more of those cost patterns that actually make sense. And I try to be one of those people who does. And that's why, in some cases, my clientele is who they are, that, I'm respectful of your dollars and you should be too. So I think if we can make that magic work there, where not only, you're getting the services that you need, you're not paying me a ton, you're not financing my Disney trip, just like a teeny tiny part of it. I think that that's fair and that'll make everything work. But you don't have to feel like, it's either do it myself or don't do it at all. Like there are other options.
Yeah. I love the fact that it's funny. We were talking about like, how did you really get AtoZ off the ground and how have you gained so much traction so quickly, at least, from my vantage point. And one of the things you hit on was the relationships, the human element of, it took you a while to build your muscles to be able to, go out and know how to talk to people, know how to let them know there's value you can produce for them, all that type of stuff, right? And being a connector. And then you talked about how like a lot of the DIY folks don't understand, like they're not building the relationships. The fact that we'll use our relationship, right? You know me.
Yes.
You can when you send me an email going, hey, Mike, what do you think about having XYZ person on your show? I'm going to respond because I know you. I'm thinking about this. So we've got this relationship. And even if it's a no for me, I'm sorry.
Which happens.
That has happened like several times. I've said, this isn't a good fit for me. It doesn't mean, hey, don't ever talk to me again.
Right.
This isn't the right fit, right?
Right.
And I'm sure you get that from your other media sources where you're reaching out saying, what do you think about this person for a story or this company?
Yeah.
I'm sure sometimes they just say, sorry, not good.
Yes.
Or not right for us, I guess is the way.
Yes, but you hit the nail on the head exactly. That because our inboxes are just so overrun with emails, if I can't see that name that says, yeah, you know what, like I care about Allie in some sense, and she probably won't send me garbage all the time.
Right.
She's going to get it right more often than
Sure.
not.
Yeah.
I'll answer that. But if it's going to be, you didn't pay attention to my podcast and who I'm pitching or my audience, or you wrote the wrong name, which is also one of those mistakes of either a bot or just somebody who's copying and pasting, that kills the whole relationship right there. So it is a relationship game. If I don't know who you are, the same way on the phone, if I don't know who's calling me, granted, I should be better because I own my own business and I should check. But I'm probably not going to pick up the phone because I'm busy and, I just don't have time.
It is really interesting, and taking the time. This is another thing that a bot's not going to do really well, and you can tell because I get the inbound. Like we literally, I'm not exaggerating. I get over 10 inbound emails for guest suggestions a day from a variety of places, right?
Yeah.
So,
let alone anything else that you got.
That's right. And so you can tell the ones that were not written by a real human. You can tell the ones who have not taken the step to go, okay, I'm pitching this person for, in this case, the Modern Financial Advisor podcast. Who is the audience for the Modern Financial Advisor podcast?
Right.
I've had people pitch me somebody who has been on the show. Like they were just on the show. You're pitching.
Yeah.
So in other words, that you didn't take the time to realize, has this person ever been on the podcast before?
Right. Which is a key thing. And then, you on the PR side, I mean, granted, that's a minimal faux pas versus, somebody saying, oh, yeah, here's somebody who, does a florist.
Yeah.
Like, what do they have to do with modern finance? But it's taking the time and the research and the care because if I'm not doing it the right way the first time with you, I probably just shot myself and my client in the foot.
Yeah. So let's talk about we talked a little bit about audience, right? Making sure if you're pitching a story or you're pitching a person to be an expert, right, in a thing, well, it only matters if they're talking to the right audience, right? Is that it's all about it, right? You're producing a show. Why are you producing a show? Well, there's a group of human beings I'm hoping to listen or watch this show or read this article or whatever. Mm-hmm. But there's also okay, so now what are we going to talk about?
Yes.
What's the story? What's the interesting? What makes something in your mind newsworthy, right? Because so for in my case, when we're producing a show or recording an episode for one of the shows I'm on or one of the ones we do for a client, I'm always trying to think, okay, what are the topics that are interesting for the audience?
Yes.
Even though I know the person's relevant, but in your mind, when we get into the classical PR thing where it's some news media is going to pick this up. Mm-hmm. What in your mind is hey, this is what makes something newsworthy, and this is noise, right? So how do you think about that process?
So I think I got lucky in that respect. So having been a reporter before, so I used to write those stories. Yeah. So if I'm not going to write about whatever it was, back again, I said a while ago, I wouldn't tell you to write that story now or to put that message out now. So I think that's been among my superpowers. But I also think that it's getting to that human element. Yeah. So I try to say, and I also teach intro to PR. I'm doing it right now, and I had done it a few times in the past. So if you're not getting to that granular, why is it that I personally am going to care? Yeah. So the same way that you said, if I'm announcing a new feature, but I can't get down to the why does Sally sitting at home, middle America, wherever, how does this make her life better? Right. Why does she care? Then we can't do it. So if it's that new widget, if it's the new website, Sally doesn't care. Yeah. And, it's not trying to be rude or whatever. It just, she doesn't care. Yeah. So it's not moving the needle. But if we can get down to that granular, the reason that Sally is going to care about this new widget is because this widget in particular is going to make her healthier than she ever was before. Yeah. Please tell me about that. Right. I need to get healthier. I need to lose some weight. Absolutely. I'll read that. Yeah. So I think it's getting down to the very personal part of things. So I think that's really the key.
I love that. It's, I'm not I guess I am a professional media person, right?
Yeah. Yes, let's be honest.
I never thought, I don't think of myself that way, but I am because I spend so much time thinking about the audience, what is interesting. If I was reading this, if I was watching this, would I want to keep reading this or watching this, right? Yes. That type of stuff, right? Would I share this story as a thing that it's not only would I find it interesting, would I want to let my network know this is an interesting thing, right? That's kind of the way that I don't know, way I nerd out. We were talking before we clicked record, and I was, by the way, Allie, superhero, being very patient. Somebody overserved us last night. I made this joke.
Well, us might be a stretch.
I was with us. It was more than people. It was not just
Okay,
me.
all right. So global. I'm just saying I was
The
not,
royal us.
to be respectful.
Yeah, not for you, for me.
I knew that I was going to be running my tush off today.
You know what's so funny? I was at, so there's, like all conferences, there's like an event. They always have like these, come hang out at the party and there's drinks and food and yada yada and cool vibes at this cool venue. And we went to this really cool venue called Meow Wolf, which I'd never heard of before, but apparently, not apparently, it is really cool and interesting. It's like hanging out in an art exhibit the whole time. Everything's different and cool.
Yeah.
But like, I made this comment while I was there because I was watching people party and get into it.
Yeah.
I said, listen, if you're ever speaking at a conference, do not allow the conference organizer to put you on early in the morning.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are partying hard the night before.
Right.
That first night of the conference.
And how do you...
because it's the first night of the conference. Everybody's like, I'm here. Woo, let's go. And, and the next day, they're like, and I was one of those people. So Allie was really awesome.
It's all good. It happens to everybody.
It did. But anyway, you're like, why did I go down that track?
You were saying that I was patient for you being
You were
late.
very
I don't know why
patient.
you needed to admit that, though. We can edit that out.
We can. Or we may just leave it in. It's fun. I don't know.
We'll see. It's your choice.
That's how relationships are. Yeah. Anyway, so we're talking about being a media person and being really interesting, and being newsworthy. Well, let's kind of talk about you and A to Z, like the interesting stuff for you. Yeah. What's next for what you're building? And how would somebody who's watching or listening to the show know, like, I need to talk to Allie, A to Z probably can help me do the things I need to do? Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. So it's hard to believe that the company is going to be 2 years old next month.
Yeah.
And if you had to ask me, as Stephen Jarvis was saying before, would I ever start a podcast? If you had asked me 6 years ago, the answer would have been no. Would I have ever started a company for myself? No.
Yeah.
But it's been fabulous ever since then. And to your point, I don't think that I personally look back at everything and say, gosh, like how far have I come? But to be honest, that is the truth. And there's quantifiable proof of that. But so next for me, I feel like, so I want to continue to steadily grow. I also have to be mindful for myself. So I'm a single mom in the sense that I'm not remarried. But so I have a beautiful daughter, Cecilia, who's 6.5. My son, Mateo, is 9. Strategically, it feels like this wasn't necessarily the time for me to start my own business and have to say, guys, sorry, mommy has to work. But I do say that, and they realize that it's important. Financially, which was basically the first year of the business. Mommy has to work because mommy has to pay the bills.
Right.
But now it's becoming more of I really want to do it. It makes me feel good. And so I love that I've gotten to the place with my clients that I can say, I'm working with all of you because, honestly, I want to do it. Yeah. The money is obviously helpful, but I really want to do it. So I'm looking to take on some more clients, but in that capacity of, this is genuinely cool, and I will give those extra hours or tell one of my children, sorry, mommy's working right now, but because I love it. So I have a mix in my business. I work both with advisors, and then I also do fintech companies like Nitrogen, for instance. Yeah. So I also have 2 models. I have a retainer model, so some people love that, and that's fabulous. And then, as I was mentioning before, being more cost conscious, I try to do hourly for advisors that just can't. And, that's totally fine too. So we'll see how the business grows. It's sort of ebbed and flowed each way, but I'm grateful that I have both sides of that business. And long term, so as my kids age enough that they get to the point of yours where it's like, I don't need to hang around you all the time. I do want to grow and have a staff and whatnot. I've loved managing people, and I really trained up and learned to get to that place. So I would like to do that. It's just not in my life cards right now.
It's really interesting. I love talking to founders. I was talking to Aaron Klein last night, and he was the last guest of the day. And one of the things I love about Aaron, and I've had him on a variety of shows several times, is he's very open about the personal aspect of entrepreneurship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because I am too. When you're building a business, it's not just going to work
and coming home, right? It is, no, like I own this thing. I'm trying to build something. So guess what? Sometimes on Saturday I'm working. Sometimes I'm going on a trip to hopefully win new business, right? I'm going to be at a conference or whatever.
Thank you for coming, by the way.
Yeah. So that's, I've always looked at it a little bit differently. I agree with you. Like sometimes you're like, man, am I sacrificing too much or whatever?
Yes.
But I also like, I love my kids seeing me build something.
Yes.
And I love them seeing me fail sometimes and talking about like, hey, this client decided not to renew or whatever. Like you talk to them about it.
Yeah.
Because like they're going to go out into the world and have to build their own world, right?
Yes.
My son who's in college has talked about his anxiety about like what AI might do to his career options, right? Now we don't know.
I think at Disney he'll be okay.
Yeah, I think at Disney he'll be okay. But it's a real concern for younger people and for them to realize like, guess what? You might not get a traditional job. Maybe you build your job. Maybe you build your thing. So I would just say to you, like, I think you're doing a wonderful job, but also you're setting an incredible example for your kids. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I do hope that I'm doing that. And I think especially for my daughter, you're right, seeing that work ethic and understanding that you got to balance the two has been important. I think with her, it's also been important for me to say, mommy has to work right now because we're going to go to Disneyland. Yeah. We are going to Disneyland in August. I'm so excited. But, do you want to do this? So then mommy has to work for it. But understanding also on the other side, as the business grows and whatnot, maybe mommy has to work a little less.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm, giving more to my freelancers. And shout out to Mahinaz Saad, who is one of my fabulous freelancers, who I love, and it does great work for me. But, I want her to understand that relationship between money and time.
Yeah.
And I think that that's important, and hopefully she'll take that lesson with her.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Well, this has been wonderful, Allie. So people can follow up with you on LinkedIn. You're very active on LinkedIn. We'll get that LinkedIn profile linked up in the show notes.
Yes.
How else can people follow along? You've got a podcast?
Yes. So I have, two podcasts.
Oh, two podcasts.
Because I'm one of those people. So actually, I created the second one because so I have a brand news platform that I'm hoping to grow in the future. It's not really at that place right now, but so I have a brand stories podcast, all related to marketing and PR. And then once a week with my own financial advisor, we discuss news that we don't think people paid enough attention to.
Oh, interesting.
So God bless Brandon Galisi for going on that road with me, because I don't know who else's financial advisor says yes to something like that. But yes, so you can find me there, both of those podcasts. And then I'm also happy to chat over email. I would give you the email address, but unfortunately I wasn't smart marketing wise, and it's rather
really
long.
So we'll have that link. We'll have it linked to the show. That's fantastic. Well, Thank you so much for coming on the show. And also, huge thank you to helping to organize so much stuff. You hooked me up with so many great guests. We got more to come today, so this is awesome stuff. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. You are fabulous, and we are lucky to have you.
Great. Awesome. Okay, we're good.
Good job.
Yeah, high five.
Well, what?
Thank you very much for listening to and or watching this episode of the Modern Financial Advisor podcast. It's always fantastic to have you with us, but even more fantastic to have Allie Zendrian on the show. It was such a wonderful treat for me to get to see her in person, spend some time with her, and get her on the podcast for the very first time. Awesome, awesome stuff. I've been on her show, and I think I was actually her first pancake. The first ever episode she recorded was me. So good stuff. What a wonderful treat for me in Denver, Colorado at the Nitrogen Fearless Investing Summit. So good stuff. Hope you got a lot out of it. Okay, as I mentioned at the top of the show, please do make sure you take a moment to subscribe to the Modern Financial Advisor podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Also, go over to LinkedIn and click subscribe to the Modern Financial Advisor podcast page so you get the updates and all that good stuff. And leave a comment. Love to hear from you. Help spread the word about the show. Get more awesome guests like Allie interested in being on the show. All sorts of good stuff. Okay, that's all I have for you today. Make sure you are being nice to each other. We'll see you next time on the Financial Advisor Podcast. See ya. Bye.